Kenshi, a game where anything can happen. You can die in the most brutal ways imaginable, from having your leg sliced off to being impaled. There is no shortage of bullshit in this game. A lot of it boils down to going about it solo. This is my journey to create an army and eventually take out every faction in the game. With that goal in mind, I headed to the character creation tool after choosing Wanderer, which is a class that starts out with a measly $1,000 and no companions. The challenge is, can I successfully create an army and erase every faction from Kenshi? Now that I had my first soldier, I pointed out to myself that armies often have more than one soldier. I remembered quickly that you can buy people in this game. I was never great at math, so I didn't know how to read numbers for the sake of comedy, but I knew the amount of money I had wasn't near enough, and I would need a job if I was to raise a family of serial killers. So with nothing but a dream in my heart and my imaginary pickaxe, I began slowly chipping away at a deposit of copper. Watching my character mind helped me deduce that video games practically play themselves these days. It made me think, but I thunk too hard and forgot. Once Phil's inventory was more stuff than your mom at a Golden Corral, I decided I wanted to turn Phil's work into profit. So I headed uphill to the town bar where anybody with an IQ above room temperature would think to sell precious metals. I opened her up and took a proper gander right inside there and made a few astute observations. 1, I wasn't in Kansas anymore, and 2, there were people, which meant there was a possibility that one of them would want to sell their life to me. After a thorough search within the cavity of the bar, I found Molly, who was happy to sell her body to me for a whopping total of more than I had. I only knew this because the number she wanted didn't look like the number I had. After seeing the horror of a number bigger than 10, I thought it'd be nice to get some money by selling my shavings of brown metal to the guy selling drinks. He had a rather strange collection for a barkeeper, but I got my money and that's all I wanted. Somebody helped me with my homework and told me I was a real good boy and that I was halfway to where I needed to be to buy Molly. That just meant cutting off nearly 2 hours of footage from this video. For now, Phil is eepy and needs to rest because tomorrow is going to be full of adventure. I started the next day bright and early breaking chunks of shiny stuff people really like for some reason off a rock. I watched as Phil's laboring skill increased. Seeing a little bar Phil was real entertainment, unrivaled by Instagram reels of people on motorcycles being decapitated by trucks in the other lane. Just when I was almost ready to go home, some starving bandits thought it'd be a good prank to beat the shit out of me and run away giggling even after I told them about my uncle who works at Roblox who can get their accounts banned. Who's laughing now? After Phil was done rolling around in the sand, I sent him back to Dollar General to exchange his copper for some allowance. While he was there, I had him pick up some gamer subs to heal his arm. The bullies hit at him real good and hard. His arm was literally hanging by a thread. I told him he could stay home today and watch cartoons if it made him feel better. He said it wouldn't, but he did anyways. Day 3 started the same way the others did. Walked downhill to meet my friends, realized I still live with my grandparents and don't have any friends, then pretend to hit a rock with a pickaxe until either my fingers started to bleed or magically until I had a big old scoop of copper in my mittens. I was briefly visited by the friends I made yesterday that I forgot I had, but they did what most people do when they see me. They ignored my existence and walked away smirking the whole time. I sold yet another pocket full of shrapnel to the guy behind the counter. He gave me a fat wad of what looked like money. I thanked him and went outside with my Capri Sun in hand. On my way out, I nearly tripped over a corpse I missed coming in. He looked like he'd gotten in a bit of an old school tussle. He was geared. I knew 3 things. I hadn't masturbated today, and that gear was worth money, so I scooped it all up like your mom at a Golden Corral and sold it all to my favorite barkeeper. I excused myself and left in a cloud of dust because I was late for work. That's right, I was a miner. Not only did I have to appeal to big Minecraft YouTubers, but I had to break the copper out of a rock for payment. During my shift, some familiar feces rolled by the drive-thru. They were playing a game called My Legs Are Broken, Please Help Me Stand, No, Stop, Don't Run Away. I thought I should take revenge on them by pushing their hairlines back a few inches with my saber. On my way over, the runner did what you'd expect he'd do, and ran away, and his playmate fell asleep in the sand. Silly guy. Sand isn't for sleeping on, it's for standing on. Anyways, he didn't try to stop me when I took his favorite stick and pants, so I guess he actually wanted to give them away. I realized they aren't all bad, so I started to administer some of my gamer subs as a bro moment. During our bond, his ex-best friend appeared and wanted to fight for the love of his old companion. I agreed and we did battle. We both said we wouldn't call reinforcements, but he must have had his fingers crossed behind his back because a dozen guys came out of the tree line and helped him. After a solid bonk on the noggin, Phil was out. He appeared dead, but he was only merely pretending. They left their friend behind. Luckily for him, I made a vow to heal a random stranger in the middle of the desert just because. So I grabbed him up and we both went home together for the first time. I was super excited for our future, but I had no place to put him. Eventually, I set him down on the town's walled walkway. I patiently waited all night for him to get up. I figured him out, but he just wouldn't admit defeat. I sighed and walked away, sad and broken. Suddenly, a guy with a friendly look in his eye appeared, and that could only mean that he wanted to join us. So with the help of a ninja guy, I put him to sleep so we could all play together when he woke up. One woke up, and so our game began. I was the runner, but I never really played that role before. Confused, I started swinging my sword at the broken legs guy. I felt something when I knocked him out. Something good. I wanted more of it. I thunk nice and long and came to the conclusion that maybe 9/11 actually was fake. Also that my skills go up with every successful attack on an opponent. My goal shifted for a moment, from collecting money to becoming a skilled swordsman. The next couple hours, I sat and waited for them to awake. When they did, I would attack. Slashing and slicing would grant me a good amount of XP in melee and in heavy swords, whatever you call that in this game. When they went down, I tended to their wounds. They wouldn't do me any good if they were dead. While I waited, I went back to my main gig, smacking a rock with a pickaxe to make little baby rocks pop out. My saber skill went up 2 whole levels by day 6, which doesn't sound like a lot, but considering it takes each of my captives, friends, about 10 to 15 minutes to wake up, I was making a lot of progress. Now, with some more money in my pockets, I purchased my first house. It was shitty and literally destroyed, but I could afford to make it at least livable. This would also make it easier to keep up with my friends, even though that's not what I ended up using it for. I stored them in the other abandoned building, thinking, how far could they possibly get? One of them escaped, and the other I just gave up on because I wasn't willing to wait 20 minutes at a time just for a measly 7% added to my XP. After some hours of long work, I finally had enough V-Bucks for a new skin. I walked into the bar, asked her if she wanted to go to prom with me, which she hesitantly responded with, I guess, which is technically a yes. Now I had a second member of my Joel Vinesauce meme house from The Sims 3. Things were looking great. I had a house, a job, and a Minecraft girlfriend. Things could only get better. I asked her to get some supplies for the house. She brought back something she said she's borrowing from the neighbors, and we put it to good use. After a light snack, I went back to my XP grind so that Sandy could go out and mine for me. Sandy got her pickaxe stuck. How do you do that? It's an imaginary pickaxe. While she tried to get it out, some people came by and offered help. Sandy slurred her words, and by that I mean she said a slur, and she got attacked. They took the pizza rolls out of her pockets, but it's okay because I had been blessed money-wise recently. I decided enough was enough and went downhill to confront the bastards who thought it would be a good idea to steal from somebody I've known for half a day. I quickly realized I had a fear of confronting people who steal things from people I've known for half a day, so I brought them back to town with me, knowing the guards would make quick work of them. They would make excellent additions to my cripple camp. By the time I got back to town, I had known Sandy for more than half a day, so I was no longer afraid to fight. Something about watching your falling foes crawl around like they don't know how to walk brings joy into my heart. I healed them up and added them to my Pokedex. I dismembered a guy, but felt awful, so as a gift I put his leg in his inventory. If he really wanted to, he could put it back on, and I end up building some furniture. I place a research bench and a shop counter. I want to be able to passively sell things, but honestly I'm not 100% sure how that works. I researched things like storage and a light. 2 things I thought I might need at some point. Currently, I have no worldly possessions, but as I expand my army, I will need a bigger base with more storage. I sent Sandy on an exploration mission, and the dumb bitch ended up getting mauled by a beak thing. Seriously, can't you run a little faster than something 4 times as tall as you? You're a liability right now, Sandy. Get your act together. I quickly learned that you shouldn't send a boy to do a man's job, so I set out on my own in search of the fabled ruined Gaiden town. I found another town instead, where I met Kang. He seemed spunky. I liked that a lot, so I asked him to marry me. He hesitantly responded with, "I guess," which is technically a yes, and we both lived happily ever after. Stay tuned, another video is set to release sometime within the next few years. I'll release a video on that later. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video or learned something, leave a like. If you didn't enjoy the video or didn't learn anything, don't leave a like. My name is Past Normal. Have a wonderful day.